All right. Hello, everybody. Hopefully my mic is coming in okay. It's a little bit of a crazy night, though. I've been trying to get the computer set back up. I've had some issues, and I'm having an issue right now. Bear with me. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope you are doing well. 5 by 5. Okay, good. Sorry if I wasn't tuned into chat while you were all talking before show. I was busy trying to get some cords and stuff working correctly. I had to sort of do a slight computer rebuild earlier today. Anyways, hope you're all well. This is our first episode of the week leading into CitizenCon. Nice to see everybody in chat. I won't call you all out because there's quite a few of you, but I do see Execute in chat. Execute, I did see your message just about 30 seconds ago. I definitely will be open to some discussion on these topics in just a few minutes, though, once I get through a few quick things, if that's all right, because I got to get my headset on so I can actually hear people talking. But anyways, yes, everybody, we are in the lead up to CitizenCon. Silvesto, thank you for subscribing. I do appreciate that. Salute to you. We're in the lead up to CitizenCon. It'll be happening this week on Saturday. I don't know what time your time it'll be, but it is listed on the site. As a matter of fact, let me look over here and see what time CitizenCon says. 4 days, 18 hours, 20 minutes. So I'll need to recalculate that to see what time it is for me. But either way, it is the 2-hour CitizenCon Direct. I'm sure everyone in chat is really excited about the news that we're going to be getting. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors going on over the last few days related to NICs. And I've heard a lot of stuff around resource management. I've heard stuff around Kairos says 3 p.m. Eastern. Perfect, because that's would be good for me. But NICs, resource management / engineering. I've heard stuff surrounding crafting, base building, and various other wish list items people are hoping to hear about. I imagine we're going to be getting ship news, obviously. Lazy, thank you for subscribing 18 months in a row. That's absolutely incredible. But for the most part, besides a few ship leaks and some leaks on NICs, which aren't any real surprise for those of you that have been watching my channel for a long time, anything else beyond that's kind of speculation. I mean, I guess it's all speculation right now, but we're only about, 5-6 days away from getting all the good stuff, all the good info. I do have, in addition to talking about CitizenCon tonight, and hey, it's JoJo TV. JoJo, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Salute to you. Yep, Perseus Hype. I think it's IAE, but it seems to be coming. But nice to see you, everyone. Make sure you go check out JoJo TV on YouTube. I have absolutely great, amazing content, really great content. Love it. And of course, info runners, long-time watchers of my channel will obviously know Execute and his team. But regardless, it's going to be an exciting week. I do have the Aegis Sabre with black magic paint to celebrate Day of the Vara. I do have that to give away tonight. If you haven't been to the Gleam link yet, that's hard to say, but if you haven't been to the Gleam link yet to enter, do that now, because it's only going on for about another 50 minutes. There's the link in chat. And then I will be closing it out and drawing that winner tonight. That giveaway is courtesy of CIG. So thank you very much, CIG, for providing that. I do appreciate it. We're going to be talking about a few things tonight. Namely, we're going to be talking about the possible Apollo variant, right? The Hermes that has been talked a little about here and there. Could be a variant, could be just a module. We don't totally know. I think there's some discussion there. We're going to take a look at that. We are going to be looking at, hey, Nacho, appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. Really appreciate it. We're going to crack open the Apollo module, or sorry, the Apollo game model, and go poking around, see what we can find. We are going to be talking about the possible Vandal capital ship that may be coming into the game in some way, not for maybe players to purchase, but maybe making an appearance. We're going to take a look at what that possibly could be, take a little bit of a history, do a little bit of a history lesson on that particular ship, although there's not a lot of information. We're still going to take a look. And then we're going to talk about some other maybes in relation to, the Vandal Stinger or the Asperia Stinger and the Gray's Market Shiv. The Paladin, for the most part, which is I'd say the most confirmed ship for Citizen Con. I think we're all pretty solid on. We all know everything about that ship, or at least what was put out in the concept. And I'm not expecting any big surprises with that ship or anything that they've like drastically changed up, because it's kind of a newer concept and they've gotten so good with their concepts that I don't foresee anything, needing to be updated in any kind of major way. So that being said, we're going to go ahead, and I am going to flip over real quick let me post this. Let's take a look here. I'm going to switch over to my full screen here. Again, Gleam Link, 48 minutes left on this one, everybody. So get in on it if you can. Do got quite a few entries, but you never know. It might be your lucky night. Again, this is for the Aegis Sabre with Black Magic paint. Sort of celebrating the Day of the Vara. So I'll be giving that away tonight. OC, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Thanks for subscribing. Arun21 and Daniel, thank you very, very much. I know I had a follow up there as well. Sorry if I French burn. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Getting some follows tonight. Thank you, everyone. Broke Citizen and Veritas. Thank you for the follows. There's StarJump Ender. Hope you're well, Ender. Oh, yeah. So real quick, CB, nice to see you. Real quick, everyone. If those of you should know that I've been putting the schedule up on Twitch and YouTube for quite a while now, about a year. I don't post it anywhere else just because it does change a bit. Citizen Spooner in chat also. There's all kinds of amazing content creators in chat tonight. Citizen, I hope you're doing well, buddy. But if you're on the YouTube or the Twitch, you will see my schedule for the next week or week and a half usually. I do have the CitizenCon stuff up there though. So if you were wondering what I was going to try to hit for CitizenCon, it's up on the YouTube schedule. It's up on the Twitch schedule. The only caveat to that is that it's very possible that some of the schedule will shift and flex depending on what news comes out from CIG. Or if some big leak drops. If CIG drops some big leak, obviously I'm going to talk about it. If they drop some information about CitizenCon, I may shift one of the shows to coincide with that, okay? For CitizenCon Direct the day of, I'll be jumping on a stream with Execute and the Info Runners, and then StarJump stream will be the following night on Sunday. So that'll allow us to kind of talk about it a little bit. We got the group hangout going. We're going to do a stream. We'll do a Q&A, all kinds of good stuff. One more thing I need to talk about, though, before we go into our topic tonight. Macontier, hopefully I said that right. Thank you for following. Really appreciate it, everyone. Last thing I wanted to go over. Art, my show producer, has been testing a new bot. If you want to ask a question and you are on Twitch, you should be able to do parenthesis, question, all in cap, and in parentheses. So question, all capital, in parentheses, and then ask your question. It should populate in the Discord for me. That would be great to test tonight. I'd love to see if it's working. Again, we did do some testing of it, but we'll try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not working for YouTube yet, but it will work for YouTube really soon. We're solving that problem now. But again, hopefully it's functioning okay. Let's see here. Shimpasta just asked the first question. Question, is this thing on? Let me see if it grabs it. Let's see here. Let's see if it comes in. Okay, Art, I got your question. Shimpasta, I think it has to be all capitals. Art, we should probably do another one that is the same thing, only different spellings of it. So it will grab all of them. But I think if it's all capitals, it grabs it because it did just grab your question, Art. So it does work. We'll get it plugged in for YouTube very soon. We're working on it. We're working on it. New system. It's a new system, everybody. Okay. Here we go. Let's see here. Bringing up some stuff. Okay, we are going to talk about, and I just realized I don't have it. I don't have it perfectly ready. Where is it? Feel free to put any questions in chat. It needs to be all capital and in it needs to be all capitals and in parentheses. Feel free to do that if you want to ask a question. Okay, I was looking for my image I wanted to share. Let's go ahead and populate this up. We're talking about tonight, first thing I want to talk about is the possible Apollo Hermes. Apollo Hermes variant, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, Simon Wolf, the questions aren't working in YouTube, but we're going to see if they work in Twitch. Says, see here, is it populating? Let's see here. Might not be working. It might not be working. Let's see here. Maybe it's coming in. It's parentheses, not brackets. Parentheses, not brackets. Yeah, you got to do parentheses and it should work. We'll see if it works. It's not totally populating them yet, but we'll see if it works. We'll see if it works. Okay. Let's talk a little bit. So feel free to ask questions, everyone. I will turn back to those here in a little bit and we'll get to them. It does look like it's putting them in there though, so that's good. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the Hermes. This information leaked out not too long ago related to an Apollo either variant or module. I'm not sure if, which one it possibly is. But what we do know is that it does have a mount for a tractor beam. For those of you that have seen some of the wireframes, the grayscale sort of untextured models that have sort of been leaking out, that is simply a speculative image that someone put out of what the interior could be done up with for this particular ship. Again, whether it's a variant or some sort of module thing, switch out for the Apollo. We also, just to be totally clear, there could be nothing related to this. It could be just some additional customization for the Apollo for all we know. I mean, I don't want to go too far into thinking, about what this Hermes thing could be. So we're speculating pretty wildly tonight. But this image here, by the way, shout out to Citizen of the Verse, mocked this up. I thought it was really, really cool and would make an awesome variant. Some sort of side loading thing with maybe only one module on the side, one medical module. I would have been interested in this. I would have been interested in this as a different version of the Apollo. I don't know what you all are thinking, but anyways, we're going to talk about the Hermes. We're going to open up the model and we'll see if Execute wants to chat. Let me get my headset on. Execute, if you want to jump in to talk about the Hermes, let me know. And let's hear what you got to say. Okay. Nose to Black says, but this pic is way too cool to be true. I agree. It is a really cool picture. It's, again, why I wanted to use it for this discussion. So I think the first thing we have to ask is, what would the purpose behind a Apollo variant be? Should it play within the medical field? Should it be something medical adjacent, or should it be a completely new variant and make maximum usage of the work that has been put into the Apollo hull? I'd like to hear what you all think. Let me know. But I will say that I think it's pretty clear the Apollo was a pretty successful design just through and through. I've heard nothing but positive things about it. So, the people that It sort of reminds me a little bit of the Valkyrie or the Terrapin or something like that, where people love the exterior of the ship. They'll love the way it looks and the overall vibe of it. But at the same time, they, you know, they don't want to do just the medical gameplay loop. So in those particular situations, I think there could be some really interesting use cases for it, especially if it was sort of medical adjacent. Citizen Spooner says design is ace, medical is currently is useless currently. Yeah, I mean we'll get to that for sure. I mean I think that's a good discussion to have just in terms of the state of medical. But I am a firm believer. I don't know if the rest of you agree with this, but I am a firm believer that CIG needs to make maximum usage of their different. Oops, sorry, everybody. Of the work they put into these ships. So, for example, if they create a ship, especially large to capital ships, they need to find multiple use cases for those ships. And by the way, I know there's a lot of follows coming in, everyone. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. MG Cruz, Machina, Zaveth, hopefully I'm getting the names right. Azure 907, appreciate that. And the subscription. Thank you very much for that. Gerald Lopez, Acontier, Veritas, Broke Citizen. Okay, thank you, everybody. I do appreciate those follows. You're all legendary. Appreciate it. But again, I think if they can get maximum usage out of the work that goes into these hull designs, that would be best, not only for the players, because you know, if you like a particular ship's design, there would be more than one niche gameplay loop for it to tie into, but also it's just an efficient way of for CIG to do ship work. I especially think that's the case on the large capital ships. And probably the worst example of that would be probably the combat capitals. I think those are a little bit more single-minded focused, and they in the kits, like the kits we had with the Idris and stuff, make a lot of sense there. But on the industrial and general purpose capitals, I would love for CIG to further exploit those, make variants of them, because if you have multiple variants of some of those ships, it incentivizes CIG to create them. So if you take the Kraken, for example, it's a big ship. It's going to take a lot of work, right? What is it? 2 years of work probably for CIG to push through that ship. It makes sense if you can maximize sales across a variety of players, right? Military, industrial players, all that kind of stuff, right? They already have the marketplace gameplay version of the ship, but why not lean into it? So why not, for example, make a Kraken that is a bit more industrial focused, right? So it has maybe refinery support or crafting support on board. Maybe they make one that is more forward leaning, right? That could be a kit, could be modular, could be a variant, but make one that is a little bit more combat leaning. We've seen that a little bit in the case of the Ironclad, right? Two different approaches to the same ship and the same hull. We've seen variants in the past that are simple variants in terms of just armament variants, all the way up to complete role changes for the ship. So we've seen all types. The Talon is another example of a weird variant where it's just an armament variant. So CIG has shown in the past that they can go all kinds of directions with their variants. So I think with the Apollo, though, it brings up something kind of interesting, which is if you already have two ships in a family, and those two ships are both playing in the medical field, right? They're both playing in the medical field. And you, sorry, everyone, checking something. By the way, everyone, I don't think the question thing is working. Okay. So I'll swing back and try to grab questions, but I don't think it's working. I may have to turn off the bot to let people know that, but it doesn't seem to be grabbing the questions. We're going to do more testing on it. We got to do more testing on it. But that being said, you've already got two Apollos out that are medical. Then you release a third that is not medical, but maybe does something else. Maybe it's cargo focused or data runner or whatever the case may be. Personally, I feel like that leads to a lot of confusion, especially in new players. new players coming into the game that don't know every single thing about the ships. And even if your argument is like, well, they should know a lot about the ships, they should know what they're buying, then I think better in-game explanations for the difference in those ships, or the ability to more easily test ships out in the verse without even renting them, would be good for new players to see. So I know we have Arena Commander, but I think something literally like, an offline mode where you can try ships out, something to help educate people on what they're actually buying, I think would be good. Because again, I do see a lot of confusion being brought into the player base when you have two variants that are so close to each other that it's stupid, and then you have a third variant that is playing in a completely different field, right? Now it makes more sense. Here's what I would have done if I was CIG. I don't know if any of you feel the same way, but here's what I would have done. If it was me, I would have taken the triage and the medevac and combined them into one ship. Regardless if people pledged for the triage or medevac, I just would have made them all medevac, right? I really would. I would have made them all medevac. I would have just given the medevac the speed bonuses of the triage, but the armor and missile bonuses of the medevac. Okay, call it the medevac, call it the medevac triage, whatever you want to call it. Just make that a single ship because they're too close together. And then I would have taken the second variant and I would have just done either something completely different with it, or made it approach the medical module gameplay a little differently. So maybe it only has a module on one side, but has a side entrance, much like you're seeing here. Again, shout out to Citizen of the Verse for this mock-up. You know what I mean? So you still have two medical variants, but they have different accessibility, right? Or maybe one of the Apollos loses one of the modules, but then it accommodates vehicle loading or something like that, right? So two different takes on the same type of medical gameplay. Or they could have did something that was sort of medical adjacent and did something where maybe it's more science-based, research, crafting, stuff like that, because I do think crafting is going to tie into the medical gameplay. I do think that will be a thing. 1 second, everybody. I definitely think that's going to be a thing. Griffin Gaming in chat. Griffin, hope you're doing well. We got all kinds of amazing creators in chat tonight. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I am going to go back and try to get some of these questions, everybody, so bear with me again. The chat bot is maybe working. Maybe. Let me swing back to it. We got a question from Citizen Spooner. I'm going to just kind of cycle through these randomly, everybody. Citizen Spooner says, will they release the newer model Vandal ships if they release the Stinger? Well, so those of you know, on a stream recently, just about a week or so ago, we talked about the Vandal Stinger, the probable new Vandal heavy fighter that is in Squadron 42. You would have seen it in the gameplay trailer that they showed last CitizenCon. If the Stinger indeed comes into the game, it will probably be the first Vandal ship to come into the game with the new art style. And if that's the case, the question then becomes, do you update all the existing Vandal ships with the new art style? My personal wish for that is yes. I feel like they should bring the new Vandal models into the game. One, because I would just like to update the models in Fleet Viewer. But two, it just makes sense. We know they're already done. I think CIG wants to kind of keep us a little bit surprised with the Vandal, but a lot of the leaks have been suggesting lately, not only with future Nyx gameplay, Vandal raids, but also with the Stinger, that maybe CIG is letting go of that, thing that they said, what was it, 2 Citizen Cons ago, where they were going to hold back on, putting the Vandal ships in. So, again, we'll have to see what they do, but they've already shown that they're willing to release some of that stuff they were holding back from Squadron early. So my answer to that, Citizen Spooner, would be yes, I hope they do bring the updated models into the game. for the Vandal ships we already have. MG Cruz, thank you very much for the follow. Really appreciate it. We have a question from Cosmic Sea Turtle in chat. Do you like turtles? Yes, I do. I'm trying to convince my daughter to get a turtle instead of a guinea pig right now. We'll see how it works out. Got a question from Bunker. Bunker says, have you seen anything new, assets or data mine, in tonight's PTU build? You think the Paladin will hit PTU? I haven't seen anything new, but I also haven't tried to data mine anything from the latest build. I would be really surprised if the Paladin drops in tonight's build, though. I think it's a little too early yet. Let me drag Execute in. Hey, Execute. Can you hear me? There he is. Execute from Info.
Sorry, I was on a phone call with Nonstop Bobs.
Oh, okay. Our resident Vandal expert.
Yeah. So I was just talking to him about some stuff as well.
New soul, nice to see you. So
I've got to ask, is this thumbnail AI generated? Because I sat here going, no fucking way.
It is, because if I zoom in here, we're supposed to see Apollo. Yes.
I was like, he's cheated somehow.
I got a shout out. Citizen of the Verse created this and posted it on X. I saw it and I was like, man, that is really cool. And he's working on a nicer version. I don't think he sent it to me yet, but I thought it was really slick. And I was thinking to myself, man, I love the current one. I love the current Apollo, obviously. But if the second variant, instead of the ones we got, if there was a second Apollo variant that only had modules on one side of its interior, and then the other side was more opened up for like a small medical vehicle, that would have been amazing. Or
did you see the episode me and Argod released?
No, I have not seen your latest episodes on my.
I was literally talking to Argod, and I was going, "We need to do this episode and release this instead of the Apollo buyer's guide, because Grim will be talking about this tomorrow. We're going to beat him to the punch. We're going to do this now." And so the Apollo buyer's guide's coming it'll be Wednesday your time, Thursday.
Well, this is a bit of a wandering speculation episode anyway, so.
Okay, well, if you open it in Seminar 4D, I'll go through you very quickly what we talked about in that episode. Yeah. Because once you see certain things, you cannot unsee them. Yeah. Right?
And Jojo says, today's build didn't have any ship stuff updated in it. So that makes sense. I don't think CIG is going to drop any ship stuff in yet. I don't think we're there.
I definitely want to get Jojo on an episode one time, because he speculates like a crazy wild man, and I want to showing some techniques to hone that even sharper, because speculating on your own, as you know, can be wild and crazy. Your brain will tell you all this shit, and I think Jojo.
We should have a battle of the speculation episode one day.
Yeah, but if you're up, Jojo, one time, maybe even get Grimmin as well. Me, you, and Grimmin, we'll play around for a bit. It'll be fun.
Okay, so we have the ship here, obviously. I'm going to move some stuff around here so everyone can see some of what we're talking about. But let's talk a little bit about the Hermes. What all did the quote unquote leak reference?
So it basically referenced the two modules essentially being cargo.
Yeah.
And then Hader also said that it had a tractor beam on it. And there were certain things when we started looking at the back that we couldn't unsee.
Yeah.
So you'll notice how the docking collar is kind of like inserted. It's not like the whole back area where it's white is not flush. It's actually tapped up against the edge of it.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if you can see it in the files, but maybe it's turn offable. And we went, well, this is probably just a module for the from the developer side. Yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah, it's essentially
we were like,
a group.
If you could take that whole thing out, you could just make the door heaps bigger. And then I went even further and said, well, what if it's not a ramp? What if it's like a cargo lift? Because it's actually quite long.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And we were like,
and just the way the entire geometry is grouped is kind of like that. So you can kind of pull out individual pieces here.
Yeah.
that sort of reveal how much space you could have. And I think this is probably a little bit more accurate to the opening it would have in the back, although they would probably crop some of this still. You'd want the hydraulics here for any sort of ramp.
Yep.
But yeah, they would
Well,
essentially pull out that docking collar there.
yeah. So we were looking at it and basically going, can you roughly tell me the length of it, by the way, just real quick before I mention this, but
Of
I'm
the
pretty sure
docking collar?
yeah, as in from the front to the back. The docking collar or the actual module part.
Yeah. Stand by here. It is roughly, let's just do some back of the napkin math here. Doesn't have to be perfect, but roughly it's about 8 meters.
Okay, so that's kind of in the ballpark of what I was saying. So a 32 SU cargo container is 30. A 32 SU cargo container is exactly 10 meters long.
Yep.
So what we were thinking was like if you had some kind of door that opened and turned into a lift that went up and down. That's kind of where our brain's at the moment. Now we have no guarantee of this. It's just like what if type of thing, right?
Yeah, all this is speculative.
The way that that's grouped, like we could not unsee that. And then when you think of data, right, they've talked about data before as a form of cargo, but they did it when the MSR came out, right? So what we also looked was when you go into where the cargo is on the Apollo right now, there's these things on the wall that me and Agrid couldn't unsee. They literally look like the data ports off the MSR and the Herald.
Yeah.
And they just have like a flat module thing on them. And we were like, well, if you took that flat little piece off, you could just put the screens on.
Yeah.
And it would be data base. And we were like, well, I can't unsee that now.
Right.
And then the other thing is when we looked into the history, and I'm talking like Greek and Roman history, try and unsee this. Guess what and I can't remember which is which, but you've got Greek and you've got Roman. Guess what the opposite is of Hermes?
Tell me.
Mercury.
Mm.
And then the other thing that came up was Hermes was the god of travelers, heralds, and a bunch of other things. And we were like, so it's now got links to the Herald and to the Mercury? That can't be a coincidence.
So I guess this is what I would say is if the Hermes is indeed some sort of data runner, let's assume really quick here. Many Miles, thank you for that subscription. Appreciate it. Rage One, nice to see you. If it is indeed any sort of data runner, what I would say would be that I would think we're getting some sort of update to Rage One just gave 5 community sub gifts. Thank you very much, Rage. Appreciate it. Salute to you, buddy. Giving you the double salute that Execute loves so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that support, Rage One. Always been a great supporter. But what I would say is that there's got to be a gameplay feature update with data coming at that point. And what I could see it tying into would be possibly scanning, which we know has been coming along. I could see with let's think about medical, for example, for a minute. With medical, in a way, we sort of got like the physicalization of medical in the form of MedGel, right? The MedGel sort of became the data packet for medical. I think you would agree. And it's very possible we could see the same with scanning, where we're going to be able to scan, but also that data can be now physicalized in the form of a card or a module or whatever that gets spit out, transferred, moved, sold.
Yeah,
whatever.
if you go into the MSR, you can actually kind of see that there are these like hard drives. You essentially have like two red handles that you would push down off to the sides, and that would allow you to access the hard drive and pull its handles out, and then pull it out of the machine.
Yeah.
And so you would have like again, knowing that there are ASD drives, come on, this is not a hop, skip, and a jump, people. We've kind of already got these drives in game, right? So it's just pull that out, and then you've got a physicalized piece of cargo. But the other way that they could connect it that we thought about was like maybe it's simpler on a lower end shit. So take the Herald, for example. Now, I'm not saying that they do it this way. We're trying to think outside the box. So what's a tier 0 implementation of what data could be at its simplest form? And then how could you step up from that? And we started looking at other tech that was in the game. So realistically, when you repair or refuel your ship, you go into your Mobiglass and you basically have a timer that runs while it repairs. Now, isn't that similar to like uploading? So you could wirelessly upload in your hangar. You could
Yep.
then travel to the other side and then re-upload, right? So there's a tier 0 implementation. And if you have a hose that we know that they've got hoses in Squadron to connect to the fuel port,
Yep.
couldn't you also have like a data cable that you run into the ship and connect to a data port? So we started thinking of things like that. So what could this very early implementation of data be? And as you said, you've given another one, which is literally just have the cards or the ASD drives that we already have in game, and you literally just put those into it and copy it onto that. I totally agree with that, and
Yeah.
that's probably the more likely one, to be honest with you.
And everyone, just so you know what he's talking about, if you didn't know, all new ships being created, and by the way, yeah, Kusanagi, I did see you mention that earlier as well. But those, for those of you that don't know, all new ships are getting things like ground ports and other stuff, even if they're not usable yet. I'll give you an example here on the Apollo. Right here on the far back, you'll see a panel right here. This is the ground fuel port door. If I move this down, or if I just kind of move this down, you'll see this is an actual nozzle that when this door swings open, you will plug in the fuel hose right here. It's actually called fuel port door. So even though it's not usable, all new ships and ground vehicles are getting ground refueling ports, which makes you wonder, you know.
Well, even things like the Prowler utility had them and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
You'd also know, because you look at the ships a lot like I do, like the other day we were in the Terrapin and all the components had been done in it. You know, like
Yeah.
if you go back 6 months ago, they were just empty boxes, like empty holes and stuff.
Yeah.
So they've gone back through almost all the ships and kind of updated them to almost a more current standard. So they are definitely getting ready for engineering,
Yeah.
which, you know, the fuses gameplay, you can start to see the hacking gameplay, you can start to see the scanning, you start to see this integration and overlap between all of them. And if you're going to bring in data running, you know as well as I do, they tend to build a ship around something like when they did the modules, they did the Retaliator, then they did the Apollo. I think it makes a lot of sense to build a new ship that does data running. My only concern, as I think would be yours, is how much does this tread on the MSR, and how do you differentiate it from the MSR? And that
Sure.
is what we kind of went into the episode, was like, how could you make it different from the MSR? But until that comes out, it could just be a dead ringer. I've got no idea, right? But generally, you would agree CIG tries to differentiate them somewhat so they have their own little niche.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say, just one second. I would also go so far as to say too that, like, if we go into this idea of base building and crafting being a thing, or especially base building being a focus, which we've heard this many times before, if base building is indeed a thing, then I have long thought that scanning would have to come along with that, you know, and the data that you pull from scanning, and then you know, that data needing to be something that could be physicalized to the point where you can sell it, because I think a big part of the base building gameplay loop is going to be finding your location. Right.
Absolutely agree. Is
So,
this a survey ship?
right.
Is this like a small Odyssey? There's a whole bunch of things that this could fall under, and that's the thing, because it's this tricky middle ground where when you get data involved, it's already got a search, a scanner on it. But we were thinking, like, do you take the because it's technically a utility port? Do you take that the scanner off, and do you put more of a like the radar looking thing off the MSR on it? Do you make it so the rooms are still modular because it's a modular ship? So can you put extra data storage in it?
Sure.
Can you put 2 cargo modules? So
And
the way we were
some
looking at it,
ships may scan in different ways too. I mean, we've already seen with the salvage stuff, you know, Reclaimer and Vulture, it's not just a matter of scale. They actually kind of do different things better. And we could see that in the form of scanning ships. You know what I mean? It remains to be seen. But what's interesting about scanning though is that while I think I always traditionally thought of it as like just scanning what's around you, what we may find is that part of the reason scanning's taken so long is because scanning is going to play right into resource management, right into base building, right into many other gameplay loops.
It touches every single gameplay group in the game. Every single one requires scanning.
Yeah.
There's not one that doesn't.
And then the fidelity of your data is probably what's going to give it its value, right? So how much data you have. So for example, if someone scans the surface of a planet, scans an area of space, what have you, there may be
Mm.
levels of fidelity there. And then those levels
Yeah.
of fidelity would determine that scan's value, right? Um,
Yep.
I really love the idea of that. Now, the alternate theory I had about the Hermes, because I honestly, that makes a lot of sense if scanning is coming online. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that makes a lot of sense for it to be a data runner. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the other likely scenario for this could be literally just a general purpose cargo ship. I
Yep.
I would be a little bummed about that in terms of one, I think it adds to ship confusion across the Apollo hull series, but also it just seems a little bit of a weird decision when you already have
Mm.
other RSI ships that kind of
So let
play
me.
in that.
So let me.
The Constellation Taurus, for example, you know.
So, so we went past this, right? So we went through this same thing when we were talking, and we went past it because we were like, okay, so you've got this modular ship in the Apollo, right?
Yeah.
You've got the ability to swap out modules. How do you then do that into a Hermes, right? And the other thing I want to stress is the modules from the Apollo, I would almost guarantee at this point, do not work in the Hermes. It is like the Asgard to the Valkyrie. They are
Yeah.
similar ships, but they do not share shit, right? I want to make that,
Yeah.
I really want to stress that point, right? So do you put a couple of modules in this to make, and that's why we went down, like, do you have a data module? Do you have an analytics module? Do you have a cargo module? Like, how do you differentiate this enough from the MSR? And our first thought was, well, if the MSR is kind of like a baseline, you could put 2 data modules in and it would then have more data than MSR, but then you'd have no cargo.
Yeah.
But if you put one of each in, you would have less of both. Now, that to me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to player choice then. Do you go full cargo or do you go full data? Are you also able to put it, the analytical module is a module off the Endeavour, but we were like, that's something that it would offer that no other data runner currently has the ability to essentially crack data, and that also starts to lead into the piracy thing. And just to point out, Hermes was related to thieves and pirates. He
Well,
was one of the
let's start with this then. Should it be a variant or should it be a module or whatever this is? I would
I think it is.
assume if it's
Yeah.
a module, it has to fit in the modular rooms because that is what is quote unquote modular with the Apollo in
Mhm.
terms of its
Yep.
setup, right? Like it's game asset
But then
setup.
the next question then was, are the walls a part of the module or are they a part of the ship?
Right. I
And
think they're
that's
part of the ship, by the way. I think they're part of the ship. When I inspected the model,
well,
there
mhm.
are parts of the ship that exist there regardless of the modules being there.
So we also looked into this from I
Hey,
don't
Nick
have
and
the
Nick.
access to the model like you do to pull it apart, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, if I was going to build a system that I'd been waiting on for years, and I noticed the child parent thing that Hader had linked in his leak,
Yeah.
I was like, I would allow the ability to have modules within modules. So
Yeah.
why couldn't you have, like, essentially, you know how the room system works? It's just an extension of the room system. So you could essentially, and Algood remembered a thing they talked about with the constellation back when they did the constellation. They literally had set it up to the point you could have any head, neck, and body and tail interchange with every other constellation. So if they ever wanted to make another variant, they could chop and change and make whatever they want. So that is almost like a precursor to their thought process of where they wanted this to go. So when I thought about it, I went, well, why wouldn't they take the opportunity to put modules within modules? So technically, this whole ship could be built out of modules.
Could
So
be.
why couldn't you take out the corridor that has the walls in it and put in another corridor that just doesn't have walls?
Yeah. I mean, a couple other things that seem to be hinted at in the leaked tags for this potential new
Yeah.
ship. And I say potential. This also could be a red herring for all we know. But there was some discussion, it looked like, of module or components being changed in terms of their location, which would
Mhm.
suggest a more fundamental series of changes to the ship's hull and interior, specifically.
Yep.
There were
Whereabouts were they? Where did they? So where they were located was back in that kind of cargo area
in
on
those
the
little cargo
Apollo.
rooms. Yep. And we
Yeah,
have the
to tell
modules
you,
up right after the bridge, but the model I
yep.
have does not have an interior.
So whereabouts do you, from what you could tell from the pictures that he posted, where do you think they were moving to? Because I had a little trouble articulating what he was trying to say in his photos.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell because they don't have the interior turned on either. So to me, they still
Exactly.
look like they're in the same spot actually, but we're missing some walls, so it's a little hard to know. What I
Yeah,
would say
that's.
though, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that's kind of what I concluded,
Yeah,
but the other thing I kind of concluded is that when I looked at the walls, you could actually remove the outside walls because the only thing that was on a wall of importance was an engineering terminal. But
yeah,
if you literally looked at the opposite wall that was at the back of the ship, it was exactly the same wall. So you could literally just modularly change that wall to be at the back instead of at the front, and then you could actually knock out those two walls.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. There also seems to be a tractor beam mount for the
Oh,
Hermes.
I can tell you where that is.
Yep.
That's so simple. Go open the model again, please.
Okay.
And go to the back, directly above the door. You'll notice that it has a space that looks identical to the door above the Zeus in the Zeus CL.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, that's just going to be arm out of Zeus come out of it.
I need to turn
It's just like
on the interior thing. There we go.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like it's one of those things. I'll keep telling you when you get. I'll take you in game after the stream, man. And like again, or you can watch the video. I went through it all in our video, but directly above the door from the outside, from the you'll see that there's like it's almost like where a number plate would go.
Yeah.
On the just above the door.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're looking at there yet because I'm obviously behind on
I
the
can see
stream.
there's part of the model missing right here, but I can see where you're talking about.
Yes.
I mean, I also heard other people talk about possibly, and I don't know where this. It's funny with leaks sometimes because one thing will leak, and then suddenly there's like a bunch of like bad information that comes out too. And one of the things I read was that, and I don't know if this was anything you saw, but that there was some theory crafting that maybe, or some speculation, excuse me, that maybe this thing opened up on the top so that you could load cargo in from the top, which makes zero sense to me, by the way.
I've had so many people fight me on the going through the back. It's not funny. Nonstop Bops was applying a very similar to what you've got in this image. I'm like, that's just so much extra work if you know how the ships are built. And you can clearly see the dock at the back is like artificially choked, just like the Zeus was. So, and when I saw that it was like flush up against like a thing, and the fact that you've moved it out as a group has just utterly confirmed to me that that's how it works now. And I don't know if anyone else that's watching can see what we're talking about to the same detail, but it's so obvious to me that's what's going to happen now. They're going to just take that dock and collar out and make it a big entryway. It's really obvious.
Now, here's the next, I think, big burning question. We've obviously had some leaks on some store pages that have been found but are sort of turned off. So those related to the Gray's Market Shiv, the Asperia Stinger, and obviously the Anvil Paladin and the RSI Perseus, but nothing has leaked out about this ship. Are we speculating that this is something that would be coming out anytime soon, or are these just random strings that are found in the code that are still maybe a ways off? That has happened before too. What you're thinking on that?
There was 4 unannounced ships, right? So that would be, so if we start to list them out, that would be this, the Stinger, and the Shiv, and that means there's one that they haven't announced, which I think would be the RSI Salvager. But basically going through those, they said one of them is, we initially thought it was the Wolf in the monthly report. It said a variant of a recently released ship.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was thinking the Wolf, but it makes sense.
So I thought the Wolf as well. I thought it would be just some kind of variant of the Wolf, but they literally also said there was no racing variant of the Wolf in the works at the moment, but maybe in the future. So
this will be an interesting one. If the Apollo Hermes or the Hermes module or whatever is coming for it, to me it is an odd, if it's a general purpose one, it would be an odd ship to do, and I wouldn't love it. Just again for the sake of like confusion amongst the player base. But if it is some sort of scanning ship and they lean into that, then I think I'm okay with it. I'd be interested in the ship. Again, I
Mm,
need to see what CIG is picturing for scanning. Um, we saw it previously and they've talked a little bit about it, and I was really excited about it
mm,
then, but then it's disappeared for quite a long time. So I'm assuming
mm.
a bunch more shit has been added to it than what we even
What
originally
makes it
thought.
it
So,
makes it really interesting too, because when you put it up against the Mercury Star Runner is 260, knowing where the Medivac dropped out, and you can see it's going to be a really interesting price point war straight off the bat. Like,
yeah,
ooh, ooh, which one do I pick?
right.
And again, like when we've worked it all through, it makes it really difficult which one to pick.
Mhm.
So I am interested to see more about it when it comes out. But I agree with Algar 100%. Like once there was the Mercury and the Herald tie-ins, you just and Cliff brought that up in chat just now again. He said surprisingly the Herald, Mercury, and Hermes all are message runners in myths. I just
Right.
can't
Yeah.
I can't unsee that. Like it's just, and we know names have meaning to the lore guys
Yeah.
at CIG.
It makes
I just can't
sense.
unsee it.
It makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, at times have been very deliberate, obviously, with their names. I mean, sometimes it's like very on the nose, sometimes it's not. But real quick, gonna grab a
Mm.
few questions here before we move on to the next ship we're going to talk about. And it N Kisune says, question: do you think the 4.3.2 patch will hit on Saturday with the new ships, or do you think the new ships will hit separately in a hot fix? I'm assuming they will want to sell ships. Um,
I think they're already in because the salvage was a tiny, tiny update patch. I've never seen a patch so tiny that went straight from
yeah,
Invercardi to live in like 2 days. It was
yeah.
so quick.
It's possible they could have, though, the files for a new ship like obfuscated some way in the build. Knowing CIG, there, if I had to guess, I think anything new ship related will push out later this week. The bigger question
Mm,
is, are any of the straight to flyables hitting the PTU, or are they just going to be pushed
yeah.
live? I would assume they're going PTU. I would assume. Um,
Mm,
but maybe I'm wrong.
see, that's a really tough thing to call
Yeah, it's
because
a tough one.
as an Evo, right? And I'll take the Apollo as an example, right? For the first time in a while, they did not give Evos access to the Apollo to test. So
Yeah.
normally the reward for being an Evo is when it then goes to PTU, they give you access to the ship as a thank you for testing.
Yeah.
They didn't do that with the Apollo.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I've
So
heard the same
things
from
are
others.
changing. They also did a special Evo for the flight test with Yogi.
Yeah.
Another thing that they haven't done before. So nothing is set in stone, and I've said this for many years now. You would have heard me say this. The only thing consistent about CIG is how inconsistent they are.
True.
So you can never tell what's going to happen. But I wouldn't. I'd go in not expecting anything. Is what I'm trying to say. Like it could go both ways.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to make that call.
Yeah, I would second that. I totally agree with that. Another question here. This one from Broke Citizen says, I'd like to address the stethoscope in the room. Drone beds or a long way off. What are your thoughts? Hopefully, I'm reading that right. I think essentially, I think you're just asking about the drones for the Apollo and
Hmm.
what we think the future of those are. I mean, I guess I could answer first on this one. I think the Shepherd drones, the medical drones, currently are still a thing. I think CIG is planning to do. I think there's still some uncertainty in how to implement them. Um, Based off what we can see now, in terms of how the Apollo is put together, it does look like those Shepherd drones go up into the bottom of the Apollo, and then there's a spawn closet there. You despawn there, and then you spawn into the medical bed. That's the way it looks like it works. I One reason CIG maybe have not pushed that, besides drones not being ready, is just possibly being a little uncertain if that's how they want it to work. So underneath the Apollo here in the model, if you can see, I'm sharing my screen. You'll see these two big doors here. If I click on those, you'll see that they're labeled right over here. It's maybe hard to read, but it says drone port door left, and then this is drone port door right. If I turn those both off, you'll see there's a cavity under here. And this cavity is really just a cavity now. That's all there is. There's no doors that lead into the internal side of the ship. It's almost like it's just a spawn closet. I can tell you that these doors are pretty big too. You could actually fit 2 Shepard drones at a time in there if you wanted. But Execute, what do you think? What do you think about the Shepard drones? Are we going to see them?
Just in regards to that cavity there, the only concept image we actually have of that from back in the day is literally this giant light shining out of it. And the one I keep thinking of is the giant light in the C2 engine area. Do you remember that, where they had it down the end?
It's almost like overpowering. Yep.
Yeah. So you just kind of can't see this empty space.
Yep.
So that's what I kind of think of when I think of that as well. Really, excuse me, in regard to drones, John Crew basically said they essentially haven't determined the gameplay needs of medical. That's kind of what I heard with the way he talked on that SCL. So they've left it open for drones to go in, but also they essentially reserve the right to change the way medical works and remove drones. That's kind of what I heard, right? And you'd have to go back and listen to it for yourself. You might hear something differently. But again, the fact that they've actually put it onto the ship, it's almost like, well, they've allowed plans for it, but they're just leaving it open because they're not sure which way it's going to go, because obviously medical is not as developed as they need.
Yeah, and this isn't, sorry everyone, I've rebalanced the Execute's audio, hopefully it's a little better. And this isn't unprecedented, by the way. There's other ships with this exact same situation. The Carrack is the first one that comes to mind. It's got its drone room. The doors are all there, all the functionality of the drones. It just doesn't have any drones. And I still think CIG, even with that, is like, okay, what do these drones do? You know what I mean? So I think there's still some figuring out there that CIG has to do. I'm going to go to the next question here. This one is from Varcon. Says, do you believe in the Nix? Do you believe the Nix system to hit at least with a preview like Pyro last year with the end of this year? And could it bring hacking / data running gameplay, unlocking MSR, Herald, Hermes? Well, I mean, definitely if you've been watching my streams, I've been talking about Nix coming sooner rather than later, all the way back to IAE last year. IAE last year is when we found Nix files in the game client, and they were not hidden. They were pretty large parts and pieces of Nix. They went in with that build, with the IAE build last year, and all the way through this year, there's been updates here and there. So I didn't think it was far off. I feel pretty confident that at CitizenCon, they're going to make an announcement that it's going into PTU by the end of this year or first quarter next year. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I look at this in a different way, right? What are the technical, in your opinion?
Yeah.
What is technically roadblocks stopping the Nix coming into the game?
Absolutely nothing. Well, actually, there's only one thing. I'll correct myself. There's only one thing, I think, quote unquote, that stops them. And by the way, anyone, if I miss a question you ask, I do apologize. The question bot's not working tonight, so I'm just manually doing this. We were trying a different way of grabbing questions. Art set it up. Either I'm doing something wrong or it's not working, but we got a lot of testing to do. But regardless, the only thing I would see that is a roadblock for CIG getting Nix into the game is if it's actually got content in it, meaning missions integrated into it. And I remember about 6 or 7 months ago, I can't remember exactly when, but I do remember a PU monthly report where they specifically talked about the mission team was doing work either on Nix or a new system. I forget exactly how it was worded, but I remember it specifically because I immediately went, "Oh, they're putting the missions in Nix, which means Nix is really far along. If they're putting mission and mission givers in there and all that crap, that means there's POIs and all that stuff in place." So, and again, that was months ago. Now we all know Nix is not a massive system with a ton of POIs and landing zones and all that. So it would make sense that there's not a ton for the mission teams to integrate. You know what I mean?
A lot of Levski, which is a landing zone, was kind of done too when Nix used to be in the game.
Right.
Delimar, the planetoid, was in the game. So it's literally, they redid the planetoid. All right, so what? But that doesn't mean they needed to redo the landing zone.
Yeah.
They just shaped that into a new terrain, and put it. It's a series of rooms in a new container.
Yeah. And we got another question here. I'm going to bring it up, but I'm also going to bring up a page. We got a question from. Stand by. We got a question from Welfney says, question, do you think this year will be the most funding CIG has ever had or will secure overall? So essentially, do we think this
Absolutely.
year is going to be the biggest funding year on record? I would say that's a 100% affirmative. And we haven't even got to the Perseus yet. What's that website again? I forget.
So just type in Star Citizen Funding Tracker in Google. It's the second one down.
Yeah, gotcha. Got it. Oh yeah, the tab public thing. Yep. Cool. Let me bring this up, everyone.
I've checked this. So I've checked this every couple of days for the last couple of days. It's gone from like $95 and it's now up to like $97. The last time I checked it on Saturday for the stream.
By the way, everyone,
Monday
we're at $872 million raised. That's pretty wild. So yeah, we're wildly ahead of where we were last year.
Yep.
We're wildly ahead of where we've been any year.
Every month has been bigger than any other month of any other year.
Yeah.
So I went back like 2 years to the previous biggest year.
Yeah.
And I took the last 3 months and essentially smacked it on the end of this year. And it was $1 million short of 150 million.
Yeah. What does this?
I think we can pass 150 million.
Yeah, I mean, and let's not forget, everyone, that one of the ships coming this year, is a non-hull limited, low crew size combat ship in the Perseus that had one of the biggest concept sales ever.
If
I scroll down, right, it'll show that. Yeah,
it literally has that peak. Yeah. It's literally labeled RSI Perseus concept sale.
Yeah, I think I need to.
And it's like you look at the bell curve, and it literally is completely out of the bell curve.
Yeah. Oops. How do I zoom out? Oh, here we go. Why is it zooming out the top one?
Because it hates you.
It hates me. That's okay. It hates me. But yeah, either way, the Perseus had one of the biggest concept sales ever for this game. So we haven't even got to that yet. We're about to go through CitizenCon. With a 2-hour CitizenCon event, it's going to be really interesting to see how CIG stacks the information and does any ship sales to coincide with that. Obviously, CitizenCon. What's bigger, CitizenCon or IAE generally? It looks like IAE. Okay.
It really depends, right? Some CitizenCons have been absolutely tiny, but then there's been other CitizenCons that have absolutely been huge.
Yeah.
Right. It really, really depends. And I would say the last few CitizenCons have been fairly large.
Yeah, pretty large.
That said, though,
especially 2023 is a big one.
It's not how long it is; it's what's announced in it.
Yeah. And specifically to me, it's how much. Now, some will say it's hopium, some will say it's lies, but it's how much excitement CIG generates with the event. So what they show off, what they put front and foremost, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't surprise me that last year's was a big one. They showed some big stuff. The year before, 2023, was the first year they showed a couple of things. 2023 and 2024 were big CitizenCon years in terms of the stuff they were showing. They were long sought after features that they were finally pulling the curtain back on. I think the one tricky thing with this year versus last is last year's CitizenCon to me was one of the most hopium CitizenCons ever. I mean, I was like, oh my God, all this stuff, it's all incredible. Like every panel was amazing. And then we got a year of none of those features coming to the game. You know what I mean? So it leads me to believe that this year's CitizenCon is going to be more conservative and they're only going to show stuff that is going to be in our hands relatively quickly. And I think they've even said as much. But I
Mm.
don't know. What do you think? Do you think that generates as much sale, generates as much dollars as an event that is far future hopium stuff? I
Well,
don't know.
again, if they do kind of release Nyx, it's kind of like they've just not said a lot, but then they've actually just released a lot of content. It's like look
True.
at the year
Yeah.
itself. All they haven't really done many ISCs. They haven't really done many Star Citizen lives,
Yeah.
but they've just kept releasing patches.
Yeah.
Most successful
Do
year
you,
they've ever done.
yeah. And going over to one of the other things I swing back to when a Citizen Con comes around is I feel like CAG also, I think it was 2023, correct me if I'm wrong, was 2023 Citizen Con the one where they showed the very first demonstration of server meshing? I think it
I believe
was.
so. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes,
then
I believe so.
2024 was all the Star Citizen 1.0 base building stuff. So again, makes a lot of sense. Um, do you think we this year get some sort of highlight or update on dynamic server meshing and or any like core tech stuff?
I think when you've only got 2 hours, and knowing that it was kind of filmed, it's going to be, they're going to really have like I want it to be meat and potatoes,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's probably going to be either lightly touching on updates for everything, or it's going to focus on core. Uh, they usually talk about what's coming in the next 12 months type of thing,
Yeah.
right? Almost every Citizen Con's had a Genesis chat.
Yeah.
Um, server meshing would be something that would be nice to hear about it too. But and then the things that have essentially been on the roadmap, we've had some really big, massive things that have literally just ended or about to end in the next month or so.
Yeah.
So we had crafting that was in almost 2 years of development. We had base building that was 82 weeks, and you just go through a few of them in there. And there's like some, scanning was a massive one as well. So they've just got they've essentially had heads down, asses up for the last 2 years
Yeah.
working on this shit. And so I'd expect that they're the things that they're going to lay into and talk about
Makes sense.
predominantly. But again, I would like to hear a little bit about dynamic 7 meshing update, but I wouldn't want it to be, like half an hour
Yeah.
type of thing. I want it to be like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I want stuff that's a little closer here. Broke Citizen has a question
Mm.
here. It says, will they have the Apex worm in the daylight like on Daymar? I really want what I saw in the CitizenCon demo back in the day. Why hide that in the dark? Is it for tech reasons or for storyline? I think CIG was just trying to capture a mood. I think you're talking about the whole
Yeah,
Stormbreaker thing. I think it was just for
yeah, it
mood.
was in a lightning
Yeah.
storm, and they
If
made it irradiated because then it had green glows
yeah, if
against a dark
anything,
background.
if anything, that was more intensive from just a
Yeah,
tech standpoint. There was a lot more going on there. So I think the daylight
yeah.
version's a lot more, a lot more accessible to them. So,
How many
you
how
know,
many fights have we had in the rain? Like that was the first fight in the rain. That was mad.
yeah,
Like I was
I
walking along, wiping my visor all the
I
time.
also think that doing it in the dark, in the rain, and all that pulled it a little bit farther away from Dune. So maybe that was a thing. Um,
True.
Dillman says here, Dillman says, do you think Nyx will be a starting location or will we need to go to Nyx through a mission? That's a good question. Will Nyx be a starting location option?
Maybe eventually, but I think a lot of that is up in the air because obviously the original plans for starting landing zones has probably shifted a lot, considering we're going
Yeah.
back to just 5 systems now. So I think
Uh,
maybe we'll look at Pyro. You can kind of start in Pyro, and that was
sure.
never a place you were meant to
Meant to
start. So I'd
start,
say
yeah.
why not?
I think it could be a starting zone or starting location, Dillman. What I would say is that at some point when we're getting closer to 1.0, if CIG continues that thread, which I don't think they will, I have a feeling they may funnel new players specifically through Stanton so they can start them on that starter, storyline that CIG told us about. But if they do keep that to where you can spawn in those other systems, I think we're going to get something where you get like a big warning before you in your confirmation that says you are setting your starting zone to a lawless system, blankety blankety blank. So we'll see. But I could see that being a thing.
They'll probably have recommended for new players
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like that.
something like that. I
So,
think because I think the starting storyline is going to specifically take you through Stanton, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Zarek Master says, with scanning updates, working Herald, Dish, others, because the Herald now has its working scanner array, and the fact that
Mhm.
we have no jump point to Nyx, you think they might do an event to introduce a transient jump point search for Nyx? Well, we do have a jump point from Pyro to Nyx, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I agree with the way the events have been going, and the audio recordings we've been seeing in the leaks and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it is so damn likely they would use that as some kind of event to push us into next. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's some kind of quest storyline that leads you to the jump point that then
100%.
goes through into next. Yeah,
100%.
something of that nature.
I think either this A or B storyline we're currently doing is going to take us to Nyx narratively.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's the
Well,
B storyline, this whole region thing. I think that
yeah,
apparently that's the B storyline. I think that's going to
yeah.
take us there. Yeah.
Well, there are already links between Jorrit and what was it? The something blade. What are they called?
Oh, was it Burning Blade? No, it's not Burning Blade, is it?
Something like it's some kind of terrorist group. I'm just going to call them a terrorist group, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of group that essentially are getting Vandal ships and providing them to Jorrit.
Yeah.
And they are in Nyx. So you can already see there's a link coming this way. Why wouldn't there be a link going back the other way? You know?
And by the way, everyone, there were ATC audio files leaked just today or yesterday of Levski ATC voice lines. So take that for what you will. Rabbit says, again, sorry if I missed any questions, everyone. Rabbit says, question, are there any planets in Nyx that have biomes that we haven't seen, like a water world or lava world? I don't think so. It's been a while since I've looked at Levski or Nyx.
Nyx, no, but Terra does have a lava world. I know that from much because I got very excited when I saw it.
Yeah.
At CitizenCon last year, I was like, "Oh, finally, about that time."
Yeah, I don't think so, Rabbit. I'm gonna do a episode soon where we kind of tour Nyx a little bit, and maybe that'll be after CitizenCon when we know more about it. So, another question from Welfie: how many concurrent daily players does Star Citizen have? Furthermore, does 2 or possibly 3 systems sustain such a large player base in terms of dynamic server meshing in state for the game? Well, we're obviously we're going to get 5 systems for 1.0. I think the current player base can spread out quite nicely across 5 systems, even if the player count went up to 1,500 or so. Spread out.
We're talking about tech for 800 player servers.
Right. Right.
Recently.
As a matter of fact, not only do I think players would be able to spread out just fine with that, I would maybe go so far as to say that CIG, I would really hope that they would start to get some NPC ships flying around and doing, especially in the heavily trafficked range areas like Hull Seas and other stuff, using AI just to fill out the verse a little bit so that's not so empty. Again, there are areas that are not empty. They're always hot spots, but again, you take 800 players, you spread that across 5 systems, and Terra is not a small system either. I mean, it's not as big as Pyro and Stanton, but it's a decent size. Castra and Nyx, I think, are both kind of small in terms of the amount of planets, amount of landing zones. It'll start to thin out, is all I'm saying.
Once you bring in the divert server meshing, and that they wanted 90% of the players, the characters to be AI, like it's gonna fill out no problem.
Yeah. Got a couple more questions here before we move on. JFJF says, question, do you see a few more refinery ships popping up this IAE? Do tiers affect refineries, mining, salvage? Well, that's a great question. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen refinery ships already. So I do think we're going to see them. I don't know if it's this IAE or CitizenCon, but I think we're ripe to get them pretty soon because crafting... They've already talked about refinery, how important the refinery loop is to salvage. And we know it's going to play a big role in crafting. So I think we are ripe to get some refinery ships. We already know that we have the Expanse. That would be an easy starter refinery ship for them to do. Will they jump into it? I'm not sure. By the way, GQ, Iron Thatcher, Alpha Rios and Bloodspill, thank you for those follows. Appreciate it. You all are amazing. Rage One earlier for giving out those gifted subs. Minnie Mouse for the subscription via Prime, and Dredgen Ghost, thank you for that follow as well. Again, everyone, I'm sorry if I missed your follows. My windows are a bit of a mess today, but appreciate that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the refinery loop's important. We do have station refinery, so it's not like we're without it at this stage, but
I
you know,
I think base building is where it's all going to come through now.
yeah,
Because you essentially can building a square box, and they've all got the same outer shell. You just build a room to fit whatever it is you're making, so
yeah,
a refinery, and then essentially then you can then go take that once it's working and literally put it into a ship, because the ship is just a different form of container for the room system.
yeah.
So all that gameplay, I think we'll probably see it first
Thank you,
come through
Wealthy.
a building and a base, before
Yeah.
you see it come through as in a ship now. I think that's what they're moving to. And I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think within the next 12 months, definitely there'll be a lot more refining stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah, Wealthy, thank you for that stretch and the follow. Appreciate it. Feathers has a question. Says, do you think we'll get a Squadron 42 update alongside CitizenCon? Since there's be attention on CIG at this time, it seems like a good time. I think Jared already said they were not going to do any Squadron 42 stuff at CitizenCon, and that is most likely because CIG will be planning a very special event for for Squadron 42 specifically.
I agree.
You know, that could be anything from them going to a games convention and propping up Squadron 42, like, a games convention that has a bunch of games coming or a bunch of game companies at. It could be some sort of special digital thing with an in-person gala. Who knows what they're going to do, but I think they're going to dedicate a lot to the marketing and promotional push for Squadron 42. And if anything, doing it outside of CitizenCon almost further strengthens that this is not just our yearly update, that it's a special thing, it's marking the launch. So there may be some benefits to going outside
Mm.
the CitizenCon thing.
The all of next year will be run up to Squadron.
Yeah.
It'll all be a hype train. They'll probably start it early next year.
Join the
Is what
cult.
I'm
Thank you for the
expecting.
follow. And everyone, we just hit our sub goals. So thank you very, very much. Y'all are killing it. Got another question here from Brokesis. And do you remember the sitcom demo on Microtech where they had an AI Valkyrie take you to a location and steal a data pad and get out to a ground vehicle to get to the character?
Yep.
Yeah, I do remember that. And yeah, again, it's just we don't have any sort of the AI ship movement stuff in game yet. We do have a little bit of it. We have AI reinforcements that'll be dropped off in Cuddy Blacks and some other stuff, but I am really looking forward to, and man, we see so many updates in the PU monthly report about AI, but
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the day when we go down to a ground location and there's hostiles down there, that there's hostiles that are on cyclones, patrolling the perimeter and this and that. I would love to see that. I don't know. I get the feeling we're still a ways off from that.
It's all dynamic submission. It's all locked behind
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I could see that. Something being limited by that. Real quick, let me check here. Got a question from Echo One. Again, sorry everyone if I missed some. Echo One says, do you think that salvaging will be the next big focus? They seem to be doing a lot of low-key salvaging updates lately. No, I don't think it's the next big focus. The next big focus is definitely crafting and base building once they get past engineering. But even engineering is sort of adjacent because it's tying into resource management, which will affect crafting and base building. But I think salvage is just getting updates so that it better applies and integrates with the stuff that they're focusing on. So
There's a starter salvage ship coming out. That's
yeah,
why.
but I'm not beyond what we've seen in the changes hit Ivacati. I'm not expecting like any big new salvage updates to come in, like, siphoning and all that stuff. I'm not expecting that like anytime soon. They've made changes to the existing salvage gameplay stuff that we have in game now, but like I'm not expecting any like new salvage features, at least in in the next 6 months. I don't know if you would agree with that.
No, I'd agree.
Yeah. we do know that there's work still to be done on salvaging, right? The munching thing was still
100%.
kind of temp. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Um, let's see here. Let's talk about the next ship I wanted to talk a little bit about. Well, I'm going to grab one more question here. One more question says here from Sir Dalkin. Says the Galaxy also has a refinery module. Do you think that maybe we will see that ship soon? I've talked about this a few times. Execute may have some different opinions. And I'm speculating wildly. I don't have any sort of inside information on this, but I actually think after the Perseus, I see CIG taking a little bit of a break on some of the RSI ships. So I see the Galaxy and the Arastra, because a lot of times people bring that one up too. I see those as coming, but not soon, not like going into production right after the Perseus. I think they are going
So
to
it's a-
take a bit of a break on that.
So essentially, you do need refining to come in to kind of like they usually break ships with multiple gameplays up into smaller ships, right?
Yeah.
So you would need to see something like the Expanse before you saw the Arastra. I do think the test bed for initially planned was the Galaxy, but I think they pivoted from the Galaxy to the Apollo because the Apollo gave them the modules, which is what they were really after, but it only gave you medical. It didn't need refining, the cargo, and the manufacturing, and it was a much bigger ship, and that's why the build exists, right?
Right.
So the Galaxy's got no priority to exist anymore, and so that's why it drops off. Everything that I look at these days always comes down to priority, and if they can get it in a simpler, cheaper way, that seems to be the way that they go. Now they'll eventually do the Galaxy, but I think you'll probably, even before you see refining in a ship, you'll probably see it in a building. And that's why I said what I said before, because there's just like we saw these giant laser tower things that were for underground mining. We saw refineries. We've heard about all, like you can go in game, look at the outposts. They have mining things, they have farming things, they have all this shit that's already there in buildings. They can utilize that. The art asset's already made. They just have to put the gameplay in to go with it. So there's no need to go build this whole ship to get it to work. Just use the shit they've already got.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a ship that will borrow heavily from the RSI sort of civilian kit, but on yet another scale larger than anything they've ever done. Remember the Perseus and Polaris, both kind of military focused. Even the bigger RSI ships like the Bengal, it's RSI military. So the Galaxy would be the largest civilian aesthetic ship they do. So it's a bit of a lift. I think they're going to take a little bit of a break. Real quick, we are going to do the giveaway soon. We're going to talk about one more ship here. And again, remember, throughout this week, there's probably going to be a lot of information leaking out and stuff like that. So I'm sure we're going to have more ship discussions as the week goes on. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this next one. And that is something that's popped up in the files known as Illyrium. I believe that's how it's talked about. Go ahead.
No, I forgot about this when I went to sleep. I've forgotten it, and then you just reminded me, and my brain went back, flooding back into all the things about it. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So it's like a Matrix upload where it just loaded back in.
Welfney, if you want to get in on that giveaway, just go to this Gleam link that I'm posting in chat right now. There's a couple ways to get in on that. That is for an Aegis Sabre with the black magic paint. It's courtesy of CIG. Thank you very much, CIG. But yes, we're talking about the Illyrium, which... as Execute highlighted to me the other day, is essentially an anagram of Mauler. Am I correct there? Mauler.
Yep.
And the Mauler.
And an older picture. Older picture you found too.
Yeah.
If you want to bring that up as
this
well.
is an older picture. This is from Squadron, like an old Squadron 42 render. There are some newer images of this in the latest gameplay trailer, but they're a little hard to see. I just grabbed this one because I thought it was interesting looking. But regardless, this ship, from what I could tell, and it has changed a lot over the past, 12 years of development.
Over a decade.
Yeah. There's been a lot that have changed about this. If indeed this Illyrium is just an anagram for Mauler, which I guess I would say is a lot. I don't know if CIG was hoping no one would be able to decipher that, but obviously people did. But
the problem is you Google Illyrium and nothing comes up. You should have thought of an anagram that actually brought shit up.
Yeah.
When it comes up dead in a search engine, you go, do they know how to spell? And then
Yeah.
I started looking for other spellings of Illyrium, and it all kind of wasn't really tangible. It didn't really go anywhere. And then when I started looking at it again, well, if I was going to hide something, and then someone else
Yeah.
brought it to my attention, the anagram, and I went, oh yeah, that's got to be it.
Yeah. Actually, one second, everybody. One second. Yes, I'm sorry. The competition did end already. I just have to draw a winner. Apologies about that. Yes, it did end. It ended at 10 p.m. But we're going to do that giveaway here in just a minute, so stand by. But anyways, the Mauler. If yeah, sorry everybody. It ended earlier. Apologies about that.
Grim
But
can't tell the time. Confirmed. He turned up late,
well,
by the way.
no,
So
no,
what
no.
were you expecting?
It was always, here's the thing. No, it was always slated to end at 10 o'clock my time, 10 o'clock Eastern, which was 30 minutes ago. I just didn't realize the time and moved past us so much. So real quick, I will say that the Mauler, let's go through a little bit of that. We do know that it is a Vandal because it has an AI entity tag on it, is Vandal. It has a couple of other things attached to it. You know, some kind of weird cargo manifest stuff related to like population variation and stuff. So that could just be how cargo spawns on it. I don't know if that means there's cargo on board this ship or if these are just general tags from Squadron 42. There is a tag for it to arrive via quantum travel. So maybe it like comes into our area, you know, from outside.
Yep.
There is a bounty cargo manifest attached to this. That's one of the tags that's also attached to this. So there's some interesting stuff sort of attached with this. Now, what do we know about the Mauler? It is apparently a cruiser, a Vandal cruiser. Now, I'm going to bring up an image. I don't want you to read too much into this because this is really ancient. This is like 2012, 2013, something like that. But I did want to use this as just a hint to maybe what CIG is thinking for this ship. You'll see the King ship up here and some other ships you may have heard of, like the Driller and stuff like that. Again, these are very, very old designs. The ships do not look like this anymore. Okay, they do not look like this anymore. Go ahead and say that, because I know there's going to be people in chat that say they don't look like this anymore. I'm very well aware.
Just to show how old this is.
Yeah.
That is an Idris Corvette back when it was about the same size as the Polaris. Like that just kind of shows how much the game has changed in this time.
Yeah. You'll see right here it says Mauler Cruiser. So at the very least, back at this time period, they were looking at the Mauler as being about a 450 to 500 meter long ship. So put all that out of your head because obviously it's probably changed heavily. What we could maybe surmise, though, is that the Mauler is probably a Vandal capital ship at the very least, or a very large Vandal ship. And if we have a big Vandal ship like that coming into the system, whether it's Nyx or wherever it's coming in at, and it's part of some sort of mission where we're attacking it, I think we could all guess that that's going to be like a pretty epic moment, right? When this massive thing comes in, because in game, while we've seen some Vandal ships in terms of the ones the players have owned, we haven't seen any of the new art style, but we've never seen a large Vandal ship in game. I don't think they've ever done that before. This would be the first time. Yeah, if this comes in any sort of like mission, because I don't think this will be like player ownable or anything, just to put that out there for everyone. I think this would be specifically tied to a mission, but this would be the first time we've ever gotten anything like this, right, Execute?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I kind of see it a little bit like the Idris coming into the game, but it's like the Vandal version of that, so to speak.
Yeah. So take that for what it is. I mean, I think that that would be really exciting. I think it would get a lot of people really excited. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think for these Vandal ships? We obviously heard about the Stinger. We're now hearing about this ship. I don't know. What do you think, Execute? Do you think we'll get the updated models for the existing Vandal ships if they're going to bring something like the Stinger in game?
Yeah, I really do. I really think it points to that quite strongly. Like they did the Hornets last year, which were essentially the Squadron 42 Hornets. Why wouldn't they also update all the Vandal and make some extra money off that? And we know that they need money to
Yeah.
market Squadron 42.
By the way, everyone
and
in
they've been-
chat, if you want to get in on the giveaway, I was able to open it back up for another 10 minutes. There's the Gleam link. Go ahead and get in on it. Don't want to leave y'all out. Going to give it another 10 minutes, okay? So if you want to get in there, get in there. Yeah, I mean, we found multiple instances where CIG had wanted to hold back things until Squadron, and they just sort of stopped doing that. Obviously, it started with the F8, the F8 Lightning, and then it was the Idris, and now it very well may be the Vandal, right? So
I'm just noticing some other funny things in this old image. It's
Yeah.
like up there where you've got the scythe, it literally says Blades Medium Fighter.
yeah,
The Blade's a light fighter now, and the scythe is a medium.
right,
So
right.
it's like a complete opposite. So,
I
yeah,
don't
It
know.
just shows you how out of date this is.
I don't know how accurate this is. Now, for this Idris Corvette down here, they do have the meterage at 240 meters, which is the updated meterage, but they have the old
Same.
model here. So I don't totally know what the thinking is here. They do have, you can't really see it. Well, actually, you'll see here that there are some meterages up here at top to kind of give you an idea. Again, everyone, preface, super old image. Do not read into any of this, but I did just want to highlight that it could mean we're getting a really significant Vandal presence in the form of a mission. And think about that for a minute. If the Vandal are indeed in Nyx, and we're going to run into those, and we've already got those leaks before everyone, references to Vandal raids. Talk about something that will drive players to Nyx. You know, their first chance to see the Vandal.
Absolutely. And an in-game event that goes along with sales. Like, come on, like these checks write themselves.
Yeah. And then with that, it would not shock me in the least if there is some sort of F7A sort of ship tie-in event that ties in with the ship, for example, or for example, like if you complete the event, maybe you get a captured Vandal, whatever. You know what I mean?
And I could even go in far as the Squadron 42 tie-in.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the follow.
Like if you're starting to build this hype around the Vandal and then the main enemy is Squadron, like I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Like I wouldn't rule anything out, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of really interesting stuff there. But with that, here's kind of an oddball question though. But with CIG, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised that they were going to bring Vandal in the Nyx. The first time I saw the leak referencing Vandal raids, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised. However, am I wrong to read into that and speculate wildly like I like to do, but am I wrong to read into the fact that they're okay with bringing Vandal into the PU, that's yet a further sign that confidence is high for Squadron 42 next year?
Yeah.
I would think so, right?
I'll kind of put this to bed a little bit, right? Come hell or high water, Squadron's got to come out next year because the people that they have legal tie-ins to have the game out by the end of next year.
Right. Some of the investment groups, right? There's some.
Yeah. It's got to be in the wild by the end of next year. Now, even if that's like late December, come hell or high water, the game's got to come out. And all I'm going to say is it's about goddamn time.
Yeah. I will say a couple people in chat saying the F7X possibly for that event.
Yeah.
It very well could be. That would make a lot of sense. I will say that
it could even be the Stinger. It could even be the Stinger.
It absolutely could be. I will say that one thing I do know about the F7X is it was confirmed by C Daddy to me, C Daddy CIG, that the F7X is not the ship you get for beating Squadron 42. So that much we know. So it would make perfect sense that we would.
It was always the F8.
Yeah, I'm thinking they changed that now, because now they've said, in reference to that, they said it's a neat little ship you're going to get for beating Squadron 42, which I thought was a weird way of putting it. And I forget where I got that information. but a neat little ship.
They give you an Aurora.
Would that not be the ultimate troll? You get the
That'd be the
Mirai
ultimate
Pulse.
troll.
You
Yeah.
get a gold Mirai Pulse is what you get.
No, you get a Fury. You get a Fury, bro. You get a Fury. It's a ship, technically.
Yeah. PC
Yeah.
Gamer Radio says, question, if Squadron 42 is coming to console, do you think that may delay it if CIG is paid from Microsoft or Sony to bring it out at the same time? If they did something like that, there would be a massive revolt if they delayed it because a big company paid them.
I cannot tell you how, but I have strong things that have been told to me that it is coming to PC. It may come to console later. Right. PC is the first and foremost. They've got no plans for consoles right now.
Yeah.
I think it'll definitely come. Like all the Wing Commanders and Chris Roberts games eventually came to console, but I think their priority first and foremost is PC. And this is based on people that I've talked to at CIG. I can't elaborate any more on who, but yeah.
Jojo,
console will be later.
Jojo, what was the leak that you were talking about? Or that you're referencing from John Crew at China Bar Citizen? Let me know in chat. Yeah, I think
should have got Jojo on here to talk to us.
He's too famous now.
Yeah, we're just the little people now.
Here's a question for you.
Just trot on us on the way up, and now he's just left us dangling his corpses in the street. Anyway,
here's a question for you. If going back to Vandal ships for a minute. Because I just saw Zilaz in chat, hopefully I said that right, says Vandal ships are so cool. And again, everyone, thank you for the follows and subscriptions, by the way. I do want to call it the subscriptions. White Denim, thank you very much for subscribing. Cindy Senderson. And then we got Zilaz, Speed NYC, Major Angry, Doralkin, Mac Alistair, man, we got a lot of them. Taladaris, Scotty Paul, Laurent, Akula, and the Walker Bait. Thank you for the follows. I do like to call those out. Thank you for that support. I will say this. If they're coming out with the Vandal Stinger now, or the Asperia Stinger, let me get it right. And if they decide to go ahead and update the visuals for the existing Asperia and Vandal ships in game, do you think they will do a sale of those?
The Asperia Vandal ships. Yeah, I said that before. Yeah, absolutely.
Like the entire family of them as of now, right? Like the Scythe and Blade.
Absolutely. Well, they did it last year with the Hornets. Why the hell wouldn't they do it with the Vandal ships? It's leaving money on the table.
Okay, next question.
And they know how much people love them. Why the hell not? They're just sitting there. They've been essentially asset flipping all year.
Okay, well, here's the next question then for you. I'd like to get your opinion on this one. If they sell those new models, are they just going to across the board update them, or are you going to be able to choose between the old model or the new model? I would assume they're retiring the old model and just exiting it out, right? And you get updated.
Yeah. Old ones are gone.
I don't think there's a ton of love for the old designs. Maybe some people. Maybe some people.
So we did an episode on this last week with Nonstop's Bops, who's a big fan of the Vandal.
Yep, I think maybe
there's a lot of things. Yeah, he is in chat. There's a lot of things that he alluded to, where essentially there's been a lot of work done on the Vandal weapons. Like I'm paraphrasing and summarizing everything he said here, but one of the really big ones that I think lends a lot of weight to the glaive specifically is the current glaive model. The weapons are right at the front of the ship. In the rework, they're about 5 meters back, and they're like hidden kind of in the wing at the midsection. But if you go in game currently, because he's a big PvP guy, you can tell that the bullets are essentially, they're not converging where they should. They kind of converge in front of the ship, about 5 meters again, so they're acting like they're on the new ship, but they're firing on the old one.
Right.
And so things are just a little bit out of whack. And he's someone that flies them all the time, so I would trust his judgment in that. But again, all the other things that he's saying, like all the, and you can go look at them. He's even linked things to me where they're showing updated weapons and stuff like that being put into the game on the Vandal and stuff like that. He did link me something that I've got to double check relating to the Ares, by the way, so that might provide a bit of fruit for you. I'm going to look into that after the stream.
Yeah, for sure. Couple other questions pop up. Want to grab some of these. One of these is Vandal weapon related, so Vandal weapon related. So he'd be the perfect person to answer that. But it says, alien weaponry. Do you see a way they will allow us to place bespoke / alien weaponry on our human ships? So will we be able to put the
Mm.
alien Vandal guns on our human ships? I don't know. I don't know if there's any plans for that. I don't know if
They
they've said
are.
that. I guess it'd be considered a bespoke weapon, right?
Yeah, I'd almost consider them like a bespoke attachment.
Yeah.
So you know how you've essentially got a turret? I would almost like it's like, well, human turrets can only go to human ships, or you'd need some form of adapter built. So like
Yeah.
we know that you can essentially take Zion and Banu weapons and convert them for human use, but maybe they haven't done that for the Vandal yet. But in time, maybe they will.
Question from Dillman in chat. When do I get to play as a Vandal race? I don't know if playing as Vandal is even in the cards. I know there's been some discussion about, Banu or Banu and Xi'an, maybe Tavarin?
Well, so all the alien races essentially have races behind them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has deliberately been done. So say eventually, like I'm just going to pick the Zion, right, as an example, because we know they're probably the best contender for an expansion pack, right? So what I'm expecting is if you build a Zion expansion pack, they'd probably do a Squadron 42 like trilogy, or at least one game, and that would incur some interactions with the humans. It would have some interactions with the internal struggles of the Zion, and then it would also then have some struggles with the race behind the Zion, which are called the Kafak. So we would actually learn about the Kafak. So eventually, after they've gone around and done expansions for the other aliens, they could then come back to the Kafak as we've expanded in the SC universe out, and then they could do them as an expansion, and then we'd find out about the race behind them. So you can see the going around the circle type analogy and just expanding out, and they could essentially do expansion packs forever in DLC form if they wanted to.
It sounds a lot like you're telling me to Kafak myself. I don't know.
I tell you that all the time, man. We haven't got the message.
That's true. Yeah. Everyone, real quick here, we're going to sling back over here to the other page. It's time to draw a winner for the Sabre. Aegis Sabre with Black Magic Paint, again, courtesy of CIG.
That is,
go ahead.
Sorry, I have to actually address this. So Devouration says there has been no discussion of non-human players. Last we heard, they only wanted human players. That is utterly not correct. It's just the information is from many years ago. And we've also heard from John Crew when I sat down with him at lunch last year. If they don't and we asked this as a confirmation. We said, if you have not updated us on something in a really long time, has it changed? And he's like, no. If we haven't told you, the information is exactly the same as it was last displayed.
I also heard that it was still the intent.
Yeah. So like Death of a Spaceman, we didn't hear about Death of the Spaceman for, I think it was 11 years.
Yeah.
And then when we reheard about it, it had barely even changed. And most of it was to add lore to how the Vandal spheres and stuff.
And then suddenly Chris Roberts did like an hour-long show on it. You know what I mean? So it can pop out of nowhere. I have heard, not recently, but like I have heard like a year and a half ago or something, I heard from someone pretty well sourced that it was still the plan. I think that was in relation to specifically Banu, but I believe it was still the plan. So, all right, I'm going to roll the dice here, everyone. This is for the Sabre with Black Magic Paint, courtesy of CIG. Thank you very much. This is in celebration of Day of the Vara. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the Day of the Vara celebration. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that.
Just a little heads up, the skin does work on every variant of the Sabre.
That is true. That is true. Drawing a winner off screen, by the way, because it will dox them on Gleam, so I'm not going to do that. Drawing the winner now, though.
Oh my God. He lives where?
Here we go, everybody. Stand by. I am drawing the winner. It is ticking, ticking, ticking. Robert Vose is our winner. Robert Vose.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Robert Vose. Are you in chat tonight? Not that you have to be, but if you are, that's awesome. Robert Vose in chat. I'll reach out. Congratulations on that. You have won the Aegis Sabre, a ship I've always wanted to own, by the way, and have just never been able to. So there you go. Congratulations.
Well, you should have just gifted it to yourself, shouldn't you? But no.
I should have. Yeah. But see, you can't because it sits in your account as a giveaway ship.
Yeah, but I've heard stories of people that accidentally put their own email in instead of the one they meant to gift it to, and they sent it to themselves.
Ah,
This is
okay.
other content creators, so I know you can gift it
Shameful.
to yourself because I've heard. No, they did by mistake.
Shameful. Very shameful.
And then they contacted CIG, and CIG said, "Oh yeah, keep it."
Just
So
keep it. Yeah. Um,
there he is. He's in there. He's in chat. Congrats, Robert. Good to see.
awesome,
I
Robert.
don't know.
I will
Yeah, good to see a
contact
name
you
I
via
recognize.
email. Yeah. Congratulations
Yeah.
on that. Robert has been in chat before. So congratulations on that again. Sabre with the black magic paint. I like the black magic paint. I thought CIG did a cool job on them. I dig them. I dig them.
Um,
They could have been a
I
little
just
bit more exciting, but they were okay. At least they weren't ass ugly. You know what I mean? So I guess.
I like the intent of it, but I just wasn't sold
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the orange vibe of it, the
Yeah.
copper vibe. I probably would have liked something like silver or something like that. It
Yeah.
looks really cool because it's like this underlying electronic look where
Yeah.
with the kind of black across the top, but it just the orange. I know what they're going for. They're going for like copper strips. I know what they're
Yeah.
trying to do, but it just didn't. Maybe it's just me, my own color thing. I know what they're trying to do, but again, not orange is not for everyone. And I actually do know there's a couple of Australian guys. I don't know if you know Silver Joker. He is
Yeah.
massively into orange.
Yeah.
He is obsessed with orange, so he probably is loving those skins.
Yeah. Absolutely. Execute. It's going to be an exciting week. It's going to be a very exciting week. Do you want to tell
Yeah,
everyone what day of CitizenCon plans are for you? Because I'm going to be joining you, right? I
yeah.
imagine you're going to
So
have a bunch of people, but tell people what your plans are if
no,
you've got it
no,
laid.
we've just got you,
Oh, okay.
me and Algrid, and that'll probably be it. I might have one more person. I'm gonna have to talk to them throughout the week and see if that develops. But
Hmm.
my plan is at the moment is I know you're going to be home about an hour and a half before CitizenCon.
Yeah.
We're probably going to kick off probably 2 hours before,
Right.
just so we can talk about you behind your back for half an hour before you get
Perfect.
there.
Love it.
Yeah, and then what my plan is to watch CitizenCon in its entirety. We'll be streaming it. We'll be taking questions with the question bot in chat and probably interacting with you in chat, but we will not be talking. We firmly believe in absorbing the information, and then what I think we will do is almost instantly, but not quite away or straight away, is rewatch it, and we will then dissect the shit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that'll be the best way to watch it.
I agree.
And I would like to do that, not just us as in talking, but I'd also like to do that with chat, like as we do on a normal
Yeah.
live stream or any type of speculation that we do. And then probably a little bit after that, we'll just talk until we're kind of sick of it and wrap up. But even if you kind of add that all together, that's already at 6 hours
Yeah.
without the extra talking at the end. So
Yeah, I agree.
that's
And
kind of where we're at, and me and I are gonna have to get up at like 4 a.m. to pull this off, so we're gonna
Yeah.
be pretty smashed.
Everyone, one thing I want to put up real quick here. Actually, let me grab it. I'm going to post this on my socials tomorrow, so don't worry. But real quick here, I do have a number of shows planned this week. Obviously, tonight as the Apollo Hermes discussion, a little bit of Mahler discussion. Tomorrow, I am planning a Shipyard episode. I don't know exactly what it's going to be on yet. I'm still thinking about it. That one could shift though. To Wednesday, so that we can talk about the monthly report. Or is it the roadmap update? Roadmap update, excuse me. And then I have a show scheduled for October 9th. So this would be Thursday night. This would just be all about sitcom expectations, just kind of discussing, the show itself, what we hope will be discussed, all that kind of stuff, maybe in relation to past episodes. We kind of did a little bit of that tonight, but we'll go into it a little bit more in detail. And then October 12th, which is Sunday, the day after CitizenCon, we're doing our STARJUMP just community hangout on Zoom. If you want a link for that, by the way, here is the link for that. You can RSVP. It's just going to be a fun hangout starting around 8 p.m. But then at 9 p.m., I'm going to go live and just discuss CitizenCon. I'm going to bring some of you that have things you want to add to the discussion. I'll bring you into a special chat room where you can be on the mic and talk directly for a few moments about that particular topic. And we'll just cycle people in and out. You've seen other content creators do stuff like that before, so we're going to give it a try. So it'll be just kind of a fun way to kind of hang out and celebrate CitizenCon. Those of you know I was originally planning to do a watch party, but didn't make any sense. It's a busy day for me. It's going to be easier for me to jump on Execute stream and all that kind of good stuff. So more info on that.
I will come and join the
Yeah.
the Zoom
Yeah,
meeting
yeah.
afterwards. Though.
Obviously,
Algrid won't be able to make it though because he'll be at school because it'll be Monday here.
cool.
But I'll definitely come.
Yeah. Yeah. PC Gamer Radio says the 2 hours mentioned for CitiCon, no one is talking about the tilde little swish there, which means approximately. I think we could go over 2 hours with. What I think could happen is there's maybe a 2 hour show, and then I have a feeling we're going to see what we saw previously, like 2 Citizen Cons or 3 Citizen Cons ago, where Chris Roberts and Richard Tyrer maybe do a talk with Jared that lasts an hour or 2 hours, depending on how many times they sort of tangent. But we'll see.
I don't actually think so.
Maybe
And the
not.
reason
Yeah.
I don't, I think that is because they've planned so many watch parties and so many events in USA and
Yeah.
Europe that they essentially just want to stream it at the bar and then it's done. And so they can actually go back to enjoying the events in person. I know
Yeah.
they're a really big thing for events in person. That what you're saying though, that might be at another time.
Yeah. That's
might
very
be like
possible.
an SCL or something like that. That's during AIE or something like that.
The one thing I would say is I personally wish we heard more from Richard Tyrer. I actually really enjoy when he talks about the game. He seems passionate. He seems extreme. I mean, obviously he's a game director, but he seems extremely knowledgeable on every little facet. So whenever he's on, I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed seeing him during the Star Citizen 1.0 presentation last year. As a matter of fact, I thought he killed that. I don't know if he sort of designed that sort of narrative side of the presentation, but I thought he really killed it.
I would say he did because when we were at the offices of in Manchester, Chris Roberts and Richard Tyrer literally have adjoining offices, and there's like a sliding wall that they can slide out, and their offices kind of join.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on not only Richard, but Todd Pappy and all that. I will say I love the vision Richard Tyrer laid out. I'm all for it. I really like hearing from him talk. I would love to have another talk from him after Citizen Con, where he talks to Jared and talks about the future of the game, maybe some more long-term stuff. We'll see if that happens. I don't know. But either way, it's going to be an exciting week, everybody. We're leading up to Citizen Con. And then after Citizen Con, obviously, we're going to have tons and tons and tons of content to talk about afterwards. We are going to possibly have some more giveaways. I've got Citizen Con goodie packs to give away. I've got some patch bundle packs to give away. And I would shock me if CIG doesn't send a giveaway our way as well. So we'll see.
There is a thing that I will point out. There was leaks kind of found that referenced a Twitch drop.
That's true.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if in watching Citizen Con, they don't have Twitch drops turned on. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is.
Yeah, and I could see their first go at Twitch drops, sort of being tied to their channel specifically. We'll see how they do it. But yeah, that's actually a great point that you brought up. Everyone, I got to wrap it up. Thank you for all for joining us tonight. Tonight on Twitch, we're going to raid someone who's got a big audience. He's well known. Don't worry about that. But he does raid me a lot. So I do want to return the favor. A lot of times I do try to raid smaller people or people that don't have a lot of people on yet. But this particular dude does raid me a lot. So I want to return that favor. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and raid Zero State. Everyone have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you a lot over the course of this week. Again, a lot of content planned. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to talk about CitizenCon. Can't wait to get all the information.
Tell him Execute said hi and give him a big slappy kiss for me.
There we go. And then, of course, last but not least, we're going to hit information about new spaceships this week, everybody. So it's going to be an awesome week. Thank you all for hanging out. You're absolutely amazing. Thank you for all the follows and subscription and gift subs. Everyone, have a great night.
See you, citizens.